Hikvision DeepinMind NVRs, followed by our DeepinView cameras. I'll then give a good practice guide to setting up DeepinMind equipment, and then I'll run the setup on an actual NVR. So that will be the hands-on part, if you like. If you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A section. My colleague, Michael Dye, the product manager for the DeepinMind equipment, he'll be on hand to answer them. The presentations will be available after. We'll be sharing them on the website to be able to view them there. If you are sitting comfortably, I'll begin. So before we get into the applications, let's ask the question, what is deep learning? Deep learning is a type of complex machine learning that trains a computer to perform advanced functions, such as recognizing speech, not just English, but all the different languages across the globe. Classifying images, from defining dogs and cats to classifying types of vehicle based on size, make, and model. Detecting objects, or vice versa, making sure some objects are not falsely recognized. Describing content, being descriptive to give further detail on imagery. Current examples are virtual assistants such as Siri and Cortana that are powered in part by deep learning. So how does it really work inside? Instead of organizing data to run through predefined equations like a simple detection application, where if a pixel on an image changes state, an alarm will sound, deep learning sets up basic parameters about the data, and it trains the computer to recognize patterns using layers of processing. Fast developments of programs, neural networks, human-machine interfaces, and computing power are now taking deep learning applications to the next heights. To assist with this ever-increasing problem, we have introduced a deep learning system to reduce false alarms based on a target tracking algorithm. With improved target classification algorithms, we get more accurate target detection. The system is compatible with our own cameras and third-party network cameras without decreasing any performance. Another benefit of using deep learning in the security industry is false alarm reduction. A major pain point of the security industry is false alarms. Adverse weather conditions or animals such as rabbits, birds, or foxes can create hundreds of alarms, crossing alarm lines or causing motion alarms. These can be very annoying, sending unwanted or erroneous alarms all throughout the day and the night. If using an alarm receiving center which monitors alarms, this can be a very costly problem, as the ARC, or alarm receiving center, may be charging per alarm to check and confirm. To assist with this ever-increasing problem, we've introduced a deep learning system to reduce false alarms based on a target tracking algorithm. With an improved target classification algorithm, we get a more accurate target detection. The system is compatible with all our own cameras and our third-party network cameras without decreasing any of that performance. Increasing the processing power in our deep learning technology, we have advanced our processing to help reduce false or incorrect alarms, such as shadows or reflections. Here we can see a single target scenario. We now have a more accurate target detection. In fact, we can reduce the disturbance of shadows, which may be seen as a fake alert, sometimes referred to as the Peter Pan effect, the story of a boy who lost his shadow. Multi-target scenarios. Separated target detection based on targeting tracking algorithm, making sure that each of the targets is confirmed before the event analysis and not just grouped together as one big alarm. Scenarios with human and vehicle targets. This separates human or vehicle target detection, giving us more accurate target classification for specific event analysis based on differentiating between humans and vehicles. In this video, we display the false alarm reduction benefits. As the person moves into the intrusion area, the alarm activates and is shown as a human detection. Next, we have the same scenario, but notice how the bushes on the right are moving. There are no false alarms here from the moving bushes, showing that we've only focused on the intruder. reducing tens of erroneous alarms. The shadows don't create alarms themselves. For alarm receiving centers, with this firmware, you can now have 3 snapshots in an email. Each picture has a bounding box around the target, so the alarm center operator can quickly identify which object triggered the alarm and react. Alarm centers using IMIX, a protocol, have the ability to play these 3 images as a short video clip. This can help when bandwidth is limited. Now most ARC centers use email to receive alarms. Some in fact run multiple SMTP or email servers. For example, 10 NVRs in one email server and then 10 NVRs on another. In the ARC firmware, we now have a dual SMTP function. When the main ARC SMTP server is disconnected or there is an SMTP failure, the backup mail server will take over and continue to send the mail notification. So it will minimize the risk of loss of notification if there is a network problem within the ARC SMTP servers. Now we've identified the benefits of deep learning and DeepinMind, we can move on to the practical features. Facial recognition is a key product of DeepinMind. We'll have a look at how facial recognition is working in the security market. Powerful next generation technologies like machine learning and artificial intelligence have recently been developed to offer an entirely next level of security. Video capture and recording solutions today can record facial images and compare them with incredible accuracy. Hikvision is right there at the forefront of this exciting new horizon in protecting our communities, our loved ones, and our properties. There are many ways that we can use facial recognition. We can use it to keep people safe, enhance business operations, as well as improve our everyday lives with optimized services. Hikvision DeepinMind is the magic behind it all. It's the magic behind all the applied technology, if you like. As its name implies, Hikvision DeepinMind technology provides accurate sensing in security hardware. Empowered by our deep learning algorithms, DeepinMind technology distinguishes people and vehicles from other moving targets. On-site response and deterrence methods using visual and customizable auditory warnings to add another layer of protection. Two-way audio functions are now available, and you can focus on alarms triggered by humans and vehicles, while false alarms triggered by small animals or other irrelevant objects are vastly reduced. Now this intelligent function is available with BCA or motion detection. Video clips are sorted by human and vehicle categories. Object classification vastly improves the search efficiency. As the slide implies, DeepinMind XB models support 16 libraries, which can be customized as a allowed or a disallowed list. And 16 libraries support up to 100,000 different pictures. We have 2 short videos showing face comparison on the NVR GUI. You can see the identification window on the left-hand side, compare and identify the person. The second video shows how we can search by picture and retrieve all the instances of the subject being seen by a certain camera. Another benefit can be loyal VIP customers, which are enormously valuable to commercial entities. Service staff cannot always identify them immediately. Intelligent facial recognition cameras, however, can provide unique opportunities that were previously unavailable. When customers choose to participate in VIP programs, marketing promotions, or other incentives, facial recognition technology will give retailers accurate tools to identify VIPs and loyal customers, so staff can provide the right kind of service at the right time. Hikvision facial recognition can create next possibilities to optimize your next marketing program. Stranger detection is another valuable asset employed by deep learning systems. Almost the opposite to VIP notifications is a stranger alarm. If a face or person is not stored in the database, When recognized as a stranger, an alarm can be triggered to the authoritative person in the area to alert members to attend. This provides a level of security and peace of mind to staff members and other people within school grounds, for example. High frequency appearance can be used to monitor a person of interest that may be loitering or hanging around specific areas. Using face capture cameras and some specific DeepinMind NVRs, we can identify when a captured face is visiting an area multiple times. We can then have this as an alarm to notify the security team that an individual is monitoring an area inappropriately. Alternatively, if we flip that on its head, we can notify a welcoming committee to say that someone has interest in a particular product or area and needs support, for example, a garage forecourt. Someone may come back to look at buying a next car. If they come back more than once, there's clearly an interest. Behavior analysis. Based on our deep learning algorithm, behavior analysis NVRs support the detection of things like not wearing a hard hat, work behavior, street behavior, perimeter, and timely trigger alarms, which can effectively improve the security of various places. We have four main features when it comes to behavior analysis. Number one, hard hat detection. The name here speaks for itself. We can raise awareness of hard hat wearing in critical areas such as building sites or construction areas. Number two, work behavior analysis, checking desk absence, people overstaying, or mobile phone usage detection. Street behavior analysis, loitering, or group gathering detection. And lastly, perimeter protection, classic detection like line crossing, intrusion, and region entering and exit. So the architecture for this kind of setup would be as follows. HD IP camera, preferably a DeepinView camera, a behavioral analysis NVR, one with the BA in the part code, and then a viewing platform, either the NVR output or a VMS, like IVMS or High Control, to glue it all together. This gives the best visible results and provides things like reporting features and graphical displays. So here is a short video of hard hat detection working. My colleagues and I walk towards the skip, and those not wearing hats are identified immediately. We can then play back those images just by clicking on the little snapshots. As work behavior analysis, using a camera and NVR. Using a camera and NVR, we can determine the movement of a person at a desk environment. Have they been still for an extended period, or vice versa? Have they been absent for an extended period? Likewise, have they been using their mobile device for an extended period? One of the more common uses for the behavior analysis is group detection analysis. Once we define an area, we can run some parameters about the area, how many people are allowed in, and the duration of those people in that area. For example, a correctional facility. Inmates are congregating in a specific area, security can be notified and officers sent to break up the party. Or maybe smoking areas where the amount of people exceeds the health and safety limitations of the particular area. Using the area definition and loitering analytics, we can get instant alerts on areas of interest. Take this reception area. If it was a bank or a school reception, you wouldn't want anyone loitering for more than a minute or two. Here we get an alarm visible on screen when the person of interest stays too long. People gathering detection. This doesn't have to be a military setup. For example, it can be okay to gather in certain locations, but not in groups. In this instance, we can set the area to alarm when the people are grouped together. But once they are separated or spaced out a little, then the alarm will desist. Some more videos for you now indicating the alarms and analytics that we have on the BA NVRs. Running detection. An alarm you won't find me setting off anytime soon. This algorithm will detect the running motion. And then violent motion. This can detect sudden movement, often associated by fighting or aggressive behavior. And lastly, fall detection, slips, trips and falls. Massively beneficial to medical practices and care homes. Also useful for those dodgy insurance claims. Product showcase. So let's have a look at the products for DeepinMind. So a quick overview of the hardware that uses the DeepinMind technology. For facial recognition and perimeter detection, we have a series of products, all beginning with the letter I. We have 3 or 4 ranges, depending on how you look at it. A dedicated facial recognition range, a dedicated false alarm reduction range, and an NVR for both facial recognition and alarm reduction. And our behavior analysis NVRs. The red IDS 961228 and 9606 NVR is a combination NVR using the face recognition algorithms and the false alarm reduction algorithms. The devices support different configurations of hard drive and the camera channel support. The 8x16S or 4x8F respectively decide number of channels for false alarm filters or number of channels for facial recognition. So that just about covers the network recording hardware. Now I'll move on to the cameras. Our DeepinView cameras specifically are 7-line devices. We'll have a quick overview and then I'll look at the functionality of the devices. We'll look at the image quality, as it's important to remember how the quality affects the analytics, the ease of use and the setup, and then a quick review of the hardware. DeepinView cameras have a variety of intelligent functions. These can be used in retail, public security, buildings and other industries to improve the monitoring efficiency and save the human monitoring cost. The intelligent functions. Similar to the DeepinMind NVRs, DeepinView cameras have many disciplines, 6 in fact: facial recognition, people counting, hard hat detection, queue management, perimeter protection, and multi-type targeting. These are switchable, however. What this means is that you cannot use all the functions at the same time. So you need to pick whichever one suits the installation. So similar to the NVR, the camera can now capture faces at the edge device and make comparisons based on faces saved in a library. Why do this on the camera and not just use the NVRs? Well, the benefits of face recognition on a camera are that you may not need to use the 16 channels of face recognition on NVR. If you only need to use 1 or 2 facial recognition cameras, you don't need to use the NVR, unless you're recording, of course. The facial recognition can help with people counting too. Now we can recognize people in store. We can recognize if they return to the store, having been outside for a brief period, and not count them again. Likewise, if people or workers, staff are in the library, then they can be singled out as they shouldn't be counted as customers. Especially beneficial to retailers wanting to make sure they pay attention to conversion rates of customer sales. Here's a brief video of someone entering the store. They exit the store and then re-enter a second later. You will notice that the count is not adjusted, but the repeat count will change, notifying you that someone has returned to the store. With people counting, we can also amend the rules of the count. So similar to the rules like intrusion or line crossing, we can have different types. Rule 1 shows the person moving from one area to the next. If they leave and return, A repeat count is notified, but the main count is not adjusted. Likewise, with rule number 2, we can monitor the direction of travel of a person moving from one area to another and avoid any repeat counts as they move around those specified areas. Offline data analysis or data mining allows us to review the information obtained from the people counting. Sorry there, just a notification. They can't see the video playing. I'll go back. So there is a video, it is playing. I assume that you can't see it through Zoom, perhaps. We'll try and see if you can make sure that you can get it when we upload later on. But the video should be available online. So it's a brief video of a person entering the store. They then leave the store and then come back a moment later. We've got the count in the corner, and the data shows that the person's just returning to the store. Offline data analysis or data mining allows us to review the information obtained from the people counting. We can search by special demographics. With this, we can see which people attend which store at which time. We can see that young people visited the store on a Saturday morning and bought mostly sweets. Within the web browser of the camera is an application. This gives us the ability to review statistics real time, check on attributes, and alarm if any VIPs or people of interest turn up. Using the multi-target detection setup, it's possible to help reduce search periods and event searches. For instance, you can search by top color, age, gender, and add other things like wearing glasses or using a backpack. All these things help to reduce search times by narrowing the threshold of attributes. An example of use would be looking for someone in particular in a shopping center, like a person of interest or a lost child. Auto tracking with perimeter protection, another video, and I apologize thoroughly if you can't see it, but it will be available when we upload the presentation later. Using a 7:9 camera, it's possible to automatically track human or vehicles using digital zoom. Not to be confused with a conventional PTZ, the NVR will record the normal primary and substream as normal, but you can connect the 4th stream of the 7:9 camera to another channel on the NVR. This then becomes an additional recorded resource, only showing the digital tracking. Queue management. Another top feature used by retailers, we have the ability to monitor the threshold of people in a specific area. When the threshold is met, an alarm can be sent to notify staff, helping to increase the operational awareness. Using the queue management data, it's possible to improve efficiency in a retail environment. This helps to also improve the shopping experience for customers, and at the end of the day, increase the turnover for the retailers. Using Hike Central and the Business Analytics module, it's possible to collate all your retail environments together. Shop A in location A and Shop B in location B can report the data back to head office at location C, where procurement teams and marketing teams can all see the detail of how many people have been in and out of the store or shop or building, and come up with new strategies of welcoming or guiding a customer experience. So look at the 7:9 images next, the video. DeepinView cameras all come with dark fighter technology, helping to improve the low light image and increase the analytical advancements. Like dark fighter, the cameras also support light fighter technology, improving the image based on the light behind the object being either too bright or being too dark. Smooth streaming, a new feature ironically introduced to help support instances of low network connectivity or packet loss in a network environment. When the camera detects that the network connectivity is low, the resolution and bitrate will be automatically adjusted to suit the network. The resolution two videos here, both showing a 4K video. While I appreciate it may not look 4K on a Zoom call, the point is that the previous versions of 4K cameras were capped at 20 frames a second. 7-line camera can reach the 25 frames a second, providing a smoother real-time video of 4K, helping to identify those analytics a little bit more easier. Product showcase, or an overview of the products that we have in the 7 line. 3 formats of cameras: internal domes, external bullets, and external domes. 2 megapixel, 4 megapixel, and 8 megapixel variations. And the outdoor domes include an anti-refraction design, where the IR lights are separate from the lens. This helps to reduce the lens flare at night caused by a scratched dome or water droplets. All domes have either a 2.8 to 12 mm lens, which is motorized, or an 8 to 32 mm motorized lens. So for any more information on the products or services that we have, please contact our pre-sales team at presales.uk@Hikvision, sales team at sales.uk@Hikvision, or visit the partners or the website at www.hikvision.com/UK. Alternatively, contact any of our distribution partners or your preferred installer. Thanks again, and we'll move on to our DeepinMind Setup best practices. I'm going to run through now correctly how to configure the DeepinMind NVR for perimeter protection. So only screenshots now, there's no video, so don't worry about that. The agenda as follows: I'm going to go through a basic introduction and then cover some of the operation of the NVR. So what it can do with what camera specs and what it does with that alarm data. Setup of the scene, how to configure the alarm rules based on that scene. We'll have a look at the summary quickly, maybe some recommended camera types if they're still there, and then good examples of perimeter protection. I'll try not to read too much from the slides. They're a bit wordy, but they are giving basic instructions. This PowerPoint is also available as a PDF after for reference. So DeepinMind recorders are designed to reduce false alarms. The keyword there being reduce. We can't eliminate every false alarm because of the environment or external factors, but we can reduce those false alarms by up to at least 90%. We do this using our DeepinMind technology. We do this, basically it's using a deep learning algorithm to remove animals and scenery like leaves and bushes and trees, and hopefully only leaving people and vehicles if required. So the operational part of this, I will talk through the guidelines that we have for configuration. Basically making sure your NVR is up to date in terms of firmware. Make sure that it is a DeepinMind that starts with an I at the start of the part code. And when you connect your cameras to the NVR, make sure that there is a minimum resolution of 1080p and the minimum frame rate of 15 images per second. So go no lower than those specifications. In the smart event settings, we choose our camera, enable smart analysis, and then we choose between human and vehicles or both. We draw our detection zone, your minimum and maximum object sizes, which I'll go through after this presentation. And then we set the schedule, the alarm linkages, and we save and apply. Here you can set the device to save the filtered alarms. This way, any alarms that are filtered and need to be checked after can be done. Scene and rule. We have some requirements for optimum installation. If internal, 2 meters is fine, but no lower. The object of interest should be within 50 meters of the optical area or field of view. This is of course based on the lens inside the camera. 6mm lenses up to 30 meters, 8mm lenses up to 40 meters, and a 12mm lens up to 50 meters. Targeting size. So DeepinMind NVRs can analyze a target whose height is between 1/16 and 1/2 of the image vertical size. For instance, if the IP camera resolution is 1080p, the target vertical size should be larger than 64 pixels and no smaller than 540. As an example, the target in the picture here is too large to detect. The man almost covers the whole screen. We would suggest making the camera higher so that the camera can start detecting from further away. Illumination. So if scenes are too dark, the NVR won't be able to detect properly. Likewise, too bright, and the NVR will struggle. Obstacles, these are fairly obvious, but anything in the way of your detection area will either cause the NVR not to record the events or give many, many false alarms. Complex scenes, another one that speaks for itself. With large footfall, you can't possibly get the accurate results with so many people entering and exiting the areas. On this image, the detection rule, the object to be recorded or the event is to have someone coming out of the building on the left. The detection rule is so close to the area where the person will leave the building, the NVR will not have time to register a detection or change the identification type. Here you can see the detection line is on some bushes and grass. While we advise that we can have algorithms to stop detecting leaves and bushes, you need to use some common sense here to say that pointing the camera at bushes is not going to help reduce those alarms. And cameras at night, domes with scratched domes or IR refraction from water droplets. These can all affect the quality of the picture and the effectiveness of the DeepinMind NVR. So to summarize those key points, try to pick a camera with a 4 to 8 megapixel and upwards of 15 frames a second. Keep the detection area in the center of the scene and make sure the target is not too big nor too small. Make sure the camera is at a suitable height and the lighting conditions and environmental setup are good. We can help to reduce the false alarms but not eliminate them all. If the intrusion detection is the critical part of the CCTV system, the camera needs to match that expectation. Try not to use an already in situ camera, as all of the above can affect the performance of DeepinMind NVRs. A couple of good examples now. The camera is nice and up high and far away from the target. And then same here, we have a high camera with the targets configured correctly in terms of height and scale, but not near the edge of the image. Now I'll switch over to our DeepinMind NVR webpage, where I will go through the intrusion setup, hopefully trigger an alarm based on the setup that I do on the NVR. So hopefully you can see my NVR page. I've got confirmation of that, and that's me. Hello, buddy. I'll switch to our configuration page. On my system, I have enabled our rules and events so that we can see them on the live view page. I'm going to go into our event settings and smart event. It's worth pointing out that all the configuration that I'm doing on the NVR is through the web page. It just gives you a better understanding of what you're doing rather than through the GUI of the NVR. Camera 1, this is my camera that I've selected here. It's the only camera I have on the system. And out of all of my analytics, I'm going to concentrate on intrusion detection. Firstly, I'll enable that intrusion detection. And we can see that we've got a live image. There are then 4 detection areas that I can enable. I'm going to start with the 1. I'll scroll down and draw my area. My detection area, simply put a box in. This is the area that I defined for detection. The max target and minimum target size. So we find, or I find, the best way to get that detection size correct is to use a person in that area. So I'm just going to draw a rough box around the size of me for detection. And then a minimum target to identify any smaller targets that may enter the scene. We'll select human, and then we've got threshold and sensitivity. The threshold is the amount of time that target needs to be in the area before it alarms, and the sensitivity is the amount of the target that needs to be in the area before it alarms. So for example, if I set it to 100%, it means that 100% of me needs to be in that particular area. If I set it to 90%, it means that only 90% of my body needs to be in that area before it alarms. I'll save that setup. And then I'll check my alarm schedule. So what we're going to do, all of this. We'll save those. And then the linkage method is our what's going to happen once the alarm has been triggered. Normally we'd have notify surveillance center so it can talk to IVMS or Hike Central. But in this instance, I'm going to give it an audible alarm just so we can hear the alarm when it's triggered. So I'll go back to my area settings and make sure they're alarmed. Yeah. Talk more, talk louder. And enable AI device at the top. So now, hopefully, I'll go back to my configuration page. Intrusion detection, enable. Configure my area, stop drawing. Next target. Save my settings, right? So I'll make sure that my schedule is set, and my linkage method is set. Now, if I go back to my main scene, if I remove myself from the image, hopefully you should have been able to hear that beep ever so subtly and trigger the alarm. So there we go. That's how we set up the intrusion based on the NVR, the DeepinMind NVR. So thanks again for your time today and your setup and your patience with the videos. They'll be uploaded to our website soon. I think Michael will probably stay online to try and answer some of